And we're back and starting again.
We are back, and we had some glitches, but we are very determined people who are bonded in a great friendship, who don't discard each other easily.
No,
So,
despite what
no, so
technology tries to do.
yeah, I would not walk away from this conversation for, well, I was going to say for all the money in the world, but
Mm,
I could find a price.
we can find a price. And I would share it with you.
Yes.
So we
So
were
we
talking, you had two questions.
I had two questions. One, uh, let me start with I was in the vet and I looked at the wall in the veterinarian's office and it said, "Home is where the dog is." And I thought that was really cute. And I started my column, newspaper column, and my Facebook podcast or Facebook post with that. And then I asked, so what are the things that make home? And it's different for everybody. We shouldn't even expect that it's going to be the same.
No.
Because there are people who don't have dogs, they don't have cats, they don't have, or they're not in a relationship, so they don't understand any of that, or they're not spiritual, so they think, oh my God, this guy's crazy. But for me, it's, the presence of God or the presence of the Holy Spirit that makes and in the garden and in my home really important to me. But Ray, it would be a house without Ray. It just
Mhm.
would be. My life would, I'd be divided in the middle. He'd take with him
Yeah.
whatever.
I
Yeah.
think for me, it's my presence. Like, and when I say my presence, like me being in the house and feeling very present in the house. And I think we spoke about this the last call where it's just the joy of like, I'm sweeping my house, like having that connection with the house. And I think in that presence is the awareness of, the universe, the Holy Spirit, God is sort of that connection with the house. And I do believe every house has an energy and a different energy. And I think it's being able to align with that energy and kind of be like, all right, this is a partnership. I'm here for a reason, and this house is my house for a reason, and being in the privilege of that presence.
Let me ask you this. I like very much that each house has its own uh, presence,
Own energy, yeah, its own presence.
its own energy. Okay, so and would you agree that the energy is distinguished by the person's personality?
I think, in my experience, it has been a compliment.
The house is a complement to the
Or
person?
the person's energy is a complement to the house's energy.
Okay, but what if there's a lot of bad energy in the house from the previous owner?
I think you should clean it and get to the original energy of the house.
Yeah, but you may not know it. But let me ask another question related to that. Do you believe that the things in the house, the antiques, the rugs, the porcelain pieces, that they each have an energy that
Mhm.
they bring with them from their previous owners
Yes.
or from
Or
the per
they
or from the
come
person who
new.
made them?
But yeah, so I do believe that they come with energy. And for me, and how I treat everything that comes into my life is that reverence of where it came from. It's like whether it's a carpet, a house, food, like what was all involved to get this here in the house, and then realizing that it's in the house for a reason. It's serving me for a reason, and there's a relationship there. So I do believe like everything on this planet has an energy. And I think that when two energies come together, which would be me and a house or me and a carpet, that there's a link there, there's a connection there. And I
Yeah,
think this
our
goes back to what we were talking about last week too, is like or the week before, we're never fully aware of our impact. So the person who put that carpet together has no idea that I'm receiving and going like, oh my God, this makes my house.
and you look at the carpet different times and you think, this is so beautiful, you know, and it makes this room and it would just have a very different feel if I took up this Oriental and put down a modern,
Hmm.
uh,
It would be
carpet.
changing. It would be changing it all, like changing the energy.
And so, when I'm in the garden, Haley, and bring in new plants, which I did this morning, uh, I welcome the plants to the energy of the garden.
Hmm.
And I speak to the garden to welcome this plant, right? Because you're all now a family. You're part of
Hmm.
our lives. And it's the same way with the interior of our home. And you've been in our house. So every piece that's in our house we've had for many, many years. And every piece that's in the house has survived downsizing, you know,
Hmm.
more than once. And so it all just fits perfectly for me. And Ray is happy with, whatever I do. He loves, the way I decorate. But every piece I look at and I think, wow. And we left so many pieces up in the Adirondacks in the lodge, things that we had collected over the years. And luckily, I took a picture of each of them, before we left, so that I can go through my camera and say, oh, I remember buying that. I remember where we got that. I remember the lady who sold it to us, because they each are loaded with memories.
Hmm. Yeah,
And
and I
those,
think they all had a purpose. Everything has a purpose. Everything comes towards us for a reason, just like everything leaves us for a reason. And I think, like I say, everything has energy. Everything, there are people that can hold on to an antique and be able to tell the entire story of it.
yeah, yeah. Well, and I don't know quite what to do with the pieces when we die.
I don't think
Right
you
now,
have to worry about that.
well, right now the plan is that an auctioneer and real estate agent would come in, sell everything, and all of the money goes to a community foundation
Hmm.
that supports the gay museum that we're so involved in. Uh, but I don't want to let go. I can if there was a house fire, you know.
But I think that's different. I think it's like you're still very much alive. So letting go of it isn't even necessary to think about because there's no reason for you to let go of it.
Well, if it's washing down a river, I
I mean, if
do.
it's washing down a river, then there's a reason for it and pay attention to that and be present with that. But, in the, like, we're talking about you and me, like, you have all of this lovely stuff and I have all of this stuff. And it's to be present with it every day so that when it is time for it to leave, we can leave, have that separation from a place of gratitude and like, oh, something good must be coming or this is necessary. And, that's you and I speaking, we're very safe, we're very comfortable today. It is different if it is, if there is a flood like we've just seen or there are fires and that kind of stuff where it's very sudden. It's tough to be in a place of, pull yourself from a place of love and try and put yourself in a place of abundance when you seemingly have lost everything. But I think,
And you,
you've been, you speak about downsizing. You've been through those feelings or those experiences in your life where you feel like you've lost everything.
yeah.
And kind of have to refocus and be like, wait a minute, I still have what's truly important to me.
Well, that's the question about what's truly important. If once again we lost all of our money and we had to sell things, as long as I have Ray, I don't feel robbed. You know, I don't feel robbed. But let me, if I can, go back. So my question to you was, what is required for you, Haley, to have your house be your home? And you began with, it's me being in the house, uh, at my presence in the house, that my presence makes it my home.
Mm-hmm.
Are there other elements that make it your home?
I would say like sort of the next sort of circle, the next layer to that would be the dude. Like we live together, we're very close, and we spend a lot of time together. So when he's not in the house feels like I'm missing something. Like
Yeah.
there's definitely this sense of like it's not complete. But again, I can say that from being a person who lived alone for many, many years to now living with another person and making that transition to, oh wow, I actually miss him. And he's been gone for like 2 hours and I miss him.
Mm-hmm.
So he's really important to me. I've chosen to share my home with him, and it's important that he's part of that experience with me. I want to share the home with him. Other than that, like everything else is nice. You know, if I lost everything, a flood came through and we lost everything, I would be okay with just him and I.
Mm-hmm.
Ultimately, I know I'd be okay if it was just me. I don't want
Mm-hmm.
that. Just like you don't
Mm-hmm.
really want, to do it alone. But it's him and I. Like I would be closer to accepting if he and I had to walk away and just put the clothes on our backs.
And Haley, uh, uh, if we lost everything, both of us, everything's gone.
Hmm.
Uh, that may be the lesson that we need to learn to go to the next level of awareness.
Absolutely.
You know, okay, I've lost everything. You know, I'm understanding that I am divine, um, in addition to being human. And uh, uh, so, what does this mean to my divine self?
Hmm.
How is my divine self supposed to respond to these losses? And what message can I share with others about it? Because that's what I do in my life is basically share messages that come into me, from walking the dog. Which leads me, go ahead.
I
I
was
don't
going to
want to
say,
stop.
nobody wants to hear this happen for a reason when you're in the thick of it. And I
Uh,
respect that. I respect that. And I think, you and I can have this conversation because obviously we've come through it and we're on the other side of it. And now we know, like, if something like that happened again, we would know how to better handle it so that we're not as sort of decentered. We have to go through something like that to be able to come out on the other side and be able to say, oh, I actually did gain from that. It was a loss, yes, but I did also gain, and perhaps I'm in a better place right now. We only really get that knowing at the end of it.
right. And it takes time to reflect.
Mm-hmm.
We're not going to know immediately.
No. And
Our ego is going to get
we're in
involved.
so much panic and chaos. There's no clarity to kind of take a step down and be like, all right, I'm just going to sit down and meditate on the purpose of this.
Right. But if we do, and if we've trained ourselves, Haley,
Mhm.
to do this, because not everyone's going to do it.
Not everybody. It's not for
Everyone,
everybody.
yeah. But I think a lot of people learn a lot of lessons from tragedies. Uh, a lot of gay men said that when they were diagnosed with HIV, it was the first time they started living
Mm-hmm.
because they were conscious of death.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, um, and I didn't have that experience,
Mm-hmm.
so I'm missing, you know, the the wisdom that comes from that experience of knowing
But you've
or
experienced death and loss in your life in different wrappings,
yeah, yeah,
where you've
yeah,
had that reflection and be like, you know what? I shouldn't say you, where, you have the ability to have the reflection of, wow, how do I want to move forward? Like, do I want to have to wait until that similar experience to me to be able to start living, or am I going to start doing it now?
yeah, yeah. So for me, just back, uh, going back to the things in the house, um, I think they're owed gratitude.
Mm-hmm.
When I walk, you see this doll behind me. That was made by a woman who was apparently the last person licensed to do dolls with porcelain faces. Right. So regardless of what it is, and the clothes are handmade, by this woman. Um, that's something special. I'm not talking about money wise,
Mm-hmm.
because I got it for $100 at an auction. No one else wanted it. But there's spirit in it.
Mm-hmm.
There's soul in it, and I need to acknowledge that. Not every day. You move from object to object throughout the week. If, just saying, I say to Ray all the time, looking out the window, I love this place. I love this place. I'm so glad we're here. And we wouldn't be here if we weren't forced to downsize.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, I've got another story for you. It
Oh.
leads me, it leads me to our second question. Okay. You mentioned dog, or I mentioned dog. And Ray and I were in the kitchen a couple nights ago, and I was heating up the pot pie that I had made the night before. And we were waiting, for the pot pie to warm up. And Ray said, "Let's dance." That doesn't get said very often in our house. So he and I started slow dancing in our little teeny kitchen. It's almost like a galley kitchen on a boat. Um, we started dancing, and he said, "You're not moving." I said, "Well, I'm afraid I'm going to tip over and pull you with me." But we're dancing, and Sebastian jumps up and he puts his paws on our shoulders and moves with us and is kissing us. So that's a memorable moment for me.
Mm-hmm.
And it started me thinking about what are the components of a memorable moment, you know, and that can be different for everybody. Love has to be there, joy has to be there, surprise has to be there, whatever we all decide. But it's a good question to ask ourselves. Uh, you know, what makes certain moments in our life memorable? And are they bad memories? Well, if they're bad memories, I don't want to remember them. So they're not memorable anymore. Uh, what do you think about that?
I love it. And, in this experience that I have with my dude, this experience of loving kindness, for me to experience and make these great memories requires me not only being present, but choosing to soften.
You 100% present and
And
what?
softening, not
Softening.
like waiting for something like for it to end, or let's just get back to what we're doing, or I'm cooking right now, I don't have time for this. It's just being able to be fully present and being like, I can dance. It's okay for me to dance. It's okay for me to be present with this love and kindness. So it is that for me, and I think this, even goes when there's bad memories. It's being able to soften and just let it be. Just let it be. And sometimes
Mhm.
it's stuff that we can enjoy, and sometimes it's just a matter of softening, letting it be so it can pass quickly and you can get on the other side of it.
If it's a bad memory, if it's a good
Yeah,
memory, I
you
want
want
to,
to just soften
I
and it's like,
want to,
let's get this
and
going.
and linger, and pay attention to it, and think. I was saying, I wrote in my column, meeting a famous person is not a memorable moment for me.
Oh, it's not for me
It
either.
it 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 may be for a lot of people. I met this famous hockey player, or I met President Obama, or um I wouldn't I wouldn't stop that from happening in my life, but it's not going to mean anything to me unless we have an exchange of thought that raises my consciousness.
Unless there's a
Other
connection.
Yeah, there's a connection. Otherwise, I said, for me, a memorable moment is sitting next to that fundamentalist Christian on the airplane who didn't know any gay people, who, when we landed, said, "God had you sit next to me." Now, that's a memorable moment for me.
Hmm. But
You
there's,
know,
there's the connection there. There's that sort of vibration of destiny that you guys were
oh,
together. Like you, I'm absolutely oblivious to famous people. It's just like when I was living in New York, there were famous people all the time, and my friends would be like, "Oh, so and so's in front of us." I would literally turn around and be like, "Where? They're in front of us," and I would just be like, "Oh, how did I miss that?" It's just because I'm so oblivious to sort of that identity of people, and I'm always more paying attention to sort of the soul, the like, who are you? Like,
Hmm.
not like who are you, what is your identity, just like who is this light? And there's a lot of people on this planet. I can't be paying attention to every single one of them to see who they are from an identity perspective.
Right. If you get an idea, if you get the opportunity to share stories, that can be a memorable moment. Uh, but
It,
going back to you saying you're not looking for important people, nor am I. I mean,
um,
I'm important. You're important,
and that's I have had the wonderful experience of working with one or two celebrities, and it's never gone on. It's been one session and not more, because they're like, you can absolutely just feel like the bubble burst when they're like, "Do you know who I am? Have you Googled me?" And I'm like, "No, I don't Google my clients beforehand." And to me, you're just another person. You can feel like and then I never have sessions with those people again, because again, I think not because it's right or it's wrong. It's just, I just don't have that in me to be like, "Oh, you're this person. All right, let me change my session to fit you."
who ends the session? Who stops at one
No, we
session? You?
have it. So we'll have, like, I've had whole 1 hour sessions with them, but they don't actually become sort of regular clients after.
Why not?
For me, I just, I can feel the energy just changing completely and them kind of pulling back. And
Okay.
it's like, it's not something that they're wanting, they want, they don't,
They're not used to it.
yeah, and it's not something that they're looking to buy, or they're not willing to pay for it going forward. And like sometimes, very early on in the beginning, where sort of I had my first celebrity, I was like, "Oh my God, this is amazing. My name gets with this person, and then my name gets out, and I'm going to be a celebrity advice."
Yeah. Yeah.
No,
Are you happy without the movie?
it fell flat.
Yeah, when I said a minute ago that I'm important and you're important, everybody's important.
Everybody's equally important, and everybody's
Everybody's
a
equally
celebrity in
important,
their life.
and everybody has a story to tell.
Hmm.
And including the guy sitting against the wall of the supermarket asking for $1 for coffee.
Yeah.
I always say, "What's your name?" And they're not used to having anybody
Um,
ask them their name. And asking their name means I see you, not just here, take this dollar and leave me alone, or $2 or
and
$3 or $5.
this is love. And I mean, it makes me love, like, just open up and try and be more present with the love that you are. The people that can take that time to see a person and say thank you or help a person, rather than just being like, "Oh shit, that's happening," and walking past. It's just one of those things that makes me love humans. And my dude, I try and do it as much, but my dude is so much better at it than me. He will always help somebody. He will always be polite. Like the other day, we were at the grocery store and somebody had dropped a bag of grapes and not picked them up. And I was focused on finding basil and sort of sidestepped the grapes. He stopped and picked them up, and I saw him and I was just like, "Holy shit, that's my dude."
I always pick stuff up that's fallen
It's
on the
just,
ground.
it's one of the things that's just like, I love that people can take the time. And I might not pick up the grapes, but one of the things that I love to do is always say thank you to the people that are cleaning the streets,
Hmm.
that are picking up trash and putting trash away that another human can't do. I
Yes.
always say thank you to them, and they're just like, "For what?" I'm like, "Thank you for cleaning." Like, thank you for sweeping and dealing with all of this stuff that, I think we can all agree nobody really like, obviously people don't really want that job and they'd much rather just drop it than put it in a trash can. But even the people that pick up the trash out of the trash cans, like, thank you for doing that. Thank you for
I had
taking care of us in that way.
I had an experience yesterday when I had coffee with a friend, and a woman walked in uh, who happened to be black, and she had this dress on that I thought was amazing. It had cherries all over it, and she looked great in it. And I was distracted through my whole conversation with my friend, and we were talking about God, we are God, blah 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 blah. I said, I'm sorry, I gotta stop for a second. I need to go over and talk to this woman before she leaves. And so I walked over and I said, I need to tell you how beautiful your dress is. I watched you walk in, and I've been dying to tell you from that moment on, and how great you look. And she, oh my God, the smile. And, it's almost somebody was, lifting her up on, a blanket and high in the air. Um, uh, it's unexpected. And I don't tell you that I did this to say that I'm a good guy. It's my nature. It's my nature to do that.
Mhm.
And it's not my nature to not do that.
But I also think it's your nature, but it's also your choice to express that nature. You equally
Yeah,
have the choice not to do that or to look at her and be like, ugh, you're too loud.
yeah,
Like
yeah,
your dress
yeah,
is way too loud for a coffee shop lady.
yeah.
We
And
have this intrinsic nature in us, but we all, I think, humility is needed because we need to acknowledge and take responsibility for our choices. And so often we hear that and we say that when the choices aren't great or the outcome isn't great. Equally, we have to do it when we notice ourselves doing these things that we can be proud about. We can be like, I'm really glad that I'm that person. And I think, the sweet part of that is when you start to do that, you notice that you surround yourself with a lot of people that do similar things.
yes, and they're the ones that are watching it go on. When I finish doing it, I don't reflect on it.
Mm-mm.
I don't. It's just me. Uh, and there was a woman. Here's me again, and Ray just shakes his head, rolls his eye. So there was this other woman that was the coral color she was wearing was amazing, for her skin tone, and so I said, I'm sorry, I need to tell you that your dress is beautiful and it compliments you so well. And she just, you know, smiles, thank you. And Haley, maybe you can advise me on this. She was with another woman whose dress didn't really do anything for her. And so I don't know what to say because I always want it to be even for
Don't
everybody.
say anything. Don't
Yeah,
lie.
yeah,
It's because as a woman in that case, and my experience of that case, when either I have been on point with the outfit for the day or one of my friends has been on point, we all know.
mm,
We all know that that person is on point. So when they get comments, we're all cheerleading. We're all making,
mhm,
yeah, we told you you were on point.
yeah,
So it's, I think to then turn around and look at somebody else and be like, oh, you're fine too. We're like, shut up.
yeah.
Don't try
One
and make this even.
one of the things I love about my age is that women are not threatened by me because they
Yeah,
see me as um, sexless and
you're
well,
safe.
yeah, I'm safe. They don't know that I'm gay. Sometimes I tell them, I said, "Don't you love gay men? They look in your eyes when they're talking to you. They're not looking anywhere else." And
It's,
they
you
all
know,
nod their head and say, "Yeah, me too."
and generally we speak about this often too, that like how safe we feel with gay men. But I will preface that to say that there are some gay men that are either in the closet.
Mm,
I would say they're in the closet still, or they're doing it very much on the secret, that we don't get that feeling from.
no, no, because it takes so much energy to hide.
Yeah.
I made a distinction a long time ago, Haley, that a homosexual is a person who's attracted to the same sex, but won't come out.
Mm.
A gay person is somebody who
Wow.
happens to be homosexual, but have claimed the name
Hmm.
and have identified with it and live it.
Living it.
Uh,
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah. It's, one of the questions, or not questions, one of the things that I had on my list for today's discussion is the difference between sharing and being of service, or the sharing and service. And this came up yesterday when I was talking with one of my clients, and a lot of my work involves redefining service and sometimes perhaps moving away from service and calling it something else. And what that something else is sharing. And sort of for me, service has always come with this sort of heaviness and this overwhelming sense of guilt and shame and value. Where is your value? And are you doing enough? And not receiving, it's all about giving. You give and don't expect anything back. So service is very often, definitely with me and very often in my clients, sort of this very tough word to incorporate and to sort of align with love because it feels very conditional. And so the word that has been coming up in my sessions has been we're not being of service, we're being sharing. We're sharing, which to me is that giving and
Very
receiving
different.
in exactly the same time.
Right.
And being able to really align our purpose with sharing versus being of service.
Service to me, when you use that word, uh, has a hierarchy here.
Mm,
I, I'm I'm serving you because you have needs,
mm,
right? Rather than, and I love the difference, I'm sharing with you as another traveler on the road back to heaven, right? We're sharing with each other. So I'm getting uh, it from you too. I
exactly.
don't
It's
want to,
that sharing of, when you're telling somebody they look fantastic in the dress, you're feeling great from that sharing, and they're possibly feeling great from that sharing too.
yeah. Uh, they're not possibly. I make sure of it.
Yeah, I don't know exactly, how they feel it, but they're going to feel good about it. You're going to feel good about it. So that sharing is a very equal exchange of giving and receiving of energy.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't stand there and say, well, what about my shirt?
Like, how am I looking
How
today?
am I looking? This is supposed to be mutual.
Yeah, and I feel like that service, I don't know if you feel this too, is like always something that I am bumping against, which is this looking the way it should look? Is my work looking like I'm being of good service? And I think that has a lot of religious connotations to it too. It sort of comes from that idea of we're all here to be of service.
We are. And we're also all here to receive service
Hmm.
because receiving with love is as important as giving with love,
Right.
right? And we often don't get that. And we often feel that if somebody gives us something, we owe them.
It goes into that debt, sort of that
Yeah.
shame and that guilt of
And
like, I didn't deserve this.
yeah, we don't like that,
Yeah.
Uh,
It was something like yesterday, and I say this, I noticed that my sessions with clients have sort of similar words and very sort of core teachings. And it was yesterday where I was like, this is actually huge. This whole difference between sharing and service, and sort of, this idea that service is all about giving and receiving is sort of like, well, now I owe you more. And this, the idea of privilege comes into service too.
Yes, it does.
My life has been so much easier than yours, therefore I need to do more to make up for that privilege.
Yes, and status comes into it. I mean,
Mhm.
it's just uh
It's such
it
a
can
dirty
hit
word.
no, it can but it can hit people the wrong way.
It really,
Yeah.
yeah.
It's almost like needing to ask people, can I hug you, rather than giving them a hug.
Hmm.
Because some people don't welcome hugs. They've been abused and they don't trust hugs,
Hmm.
especially from men. So uh, we need to know some of the story before we provide our service,
Right.
right?
And I think even, you use word service, but there is that sharing of the energy, the sharing of me. This is who I am. I'm a hugger and I hug people, but I have to understand that we're on the same terms in terms of the sharing.
Yes, yes. Uh, and us, the sharer, uh, who accepts the no uh, with gratitude and
Mhm.
love, and doesn't make the person self-conscious about saying no. That's part of our spiritual growth.
Yeah.
Because somebody can say, well, the hell with you. You don't want me to hug you. The hell with you.
Yeah. What's
Go
wrong
find
with you?
go find somebody who is even interested. Because we can say really mean things to each other, things that hurt. And I guess those can be memorable moments too.
I'm sorry.
The hurtful moments can be memorable moments too. I like to think they are. How much time do we have?
We still have like a good 10 minutes because we're going a little bit over today.
Um, was there something, do you want to talk at all about uh, uh, the thing we've been thinking about with
The
regard to
synchronicity.
the changes that we're thinking
Yeah.
about?
So I think what we're talking about is, when Brian and I connect, when we connect on a call, we kind of first have a chit chat to see how we're doing. And then, maybe 2 minutes later, we'll hit record. And it's kind of sometimes it's a bit of a housekeeping, some of it's, what happened yesterday. But sort of what I blurted out immediately was like, hey, Brian, I want to talk to you. Do you mind changing the name of our discussion from Are You Happy with the Movie to Brian and Hayley? Because I feel like that more aligns with where I am in my life. And you agreed. You're like, oh my God, that's what I've been thinking about too.
Yeah, that's amazing to me about the us thinking about it exactly at the same time.
Mm-hmm.
That the when you heard me tell the story about, the person having them thinking they're going to have a movie made about them, and getting an Oscar, and then realizing that they've missed their chance because they're not going to get on Oprah for those 10
Mm-hmm.
minutes. Uh, you loved it. You just
Mm-hmm.
loved the Are You Happy Without the Movie? And let's call it that. And I love that you loved it. Uh, but it's not an easy thing to explain in just a few words, right? I mean,
It's
people, yeah.
it's our thing. Like you and I
Yeah,
get it immediately and we get really excited about it. But it's other things where people would be like, yeah, not that exciting.
I'm not interested in that. I don't know. I have no idea what they're talking about.
Yeah.
Uh, um, uh, so, um, why not Haley and Brian?
For me, it just sounds better, Brian and Haley.
Yeah, it does to me too, but I just had to ask.
Where, I was playing with it and then I was also sitting with it going like, is this me sort of having a bit of fear about having my name first? And I was like, no, it sounds like the incantation of it sounds better, Brian and Haley.
It flows better, doesn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So yeah. So that
Yeah, and
I
besides
wanted to
that,
change it.
yeah, besides that, the
And
person who was,
nobody says anything about like, oh, they were like, oh, Brian and Haley were talking about this. They're not like, oh, on yesterday's episode of.
yeah, yeah, yeah. so somebody has an easier time finding it,
Yeah.
right?
It aligns more with sort of how people talk about it, how we talk about it. And I think for me, it aligns more with, did we freeze again?
Yeah, just for a second. I thought, oh no, oh
So I was saying that it aligns more with sort of too where I'm moving with my work at this time, which is really being in the privilege of my name and my work and all the little things that I do. And sort of really sort of bringing them back together and tying them together and just, kind of being in the privilege of things that I do.
all right. It
Are we
froze again.
breaking up?
Yeah, no, yeah, it's the earthquakes.
Could be, but it could also
And
be,
there's that great smile.
it could also be
I
what has
thought
been
you're
happening.
looking at me with this great smile, finding everything. Yes, you just froze again with this great smile. So I'm talking, saying it must be now you froze again.
Have I? You're perfectly fine.
Yeah,
Um,
but you keep freezing.
I think this is the universe kind of saying we're done for our discussion today.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Wrap it up, people.
Yeah. Yeah. So you're going to take care of the YouTube name,
Mm-hmm.
and we're going to investigate how you change the name on Facebook.
Facebook. Yep.
Um, and good for us.
And we'll go from there. And I think it's just going with the flow and evolving organically.
Yeah, I think it's great. I'm so glad you brought it up, and I'm so glad we're doing it.
Amazing. And I'm happy to have spoken to you, even with the technical glitches.
Yeah, it's so funny. I don't know if you're aware of them. Uh, I don't know how you know you're in them or not,
I
but
only know because you freeze.
oh, I freeze too?
Yeah,
Oh, well, that's ridiculous.
I know. So I'm not going to push this any longer because we probably will get cut off.
Yeah, yeah. If
Thank
people
you.
see, thank you. Thank
And
you,
I think
Haley.
next time we see each other, we have Jason back. Yeah.
I think so too. And
I'm
we'll
looking forward
tell,
to that.
and we'll send him a new link to the Brian and Haley show.
Lots of love to you, and we'll chat soon.
Take care. I love you.
Bye.
Bye bye.